Good morning, everybody. My name's Steve Park. I'm the Director of Growth at Warrington Borough Council, and I'm absolutely delighted to be at UKREiiF in Leeds today. I'm particularly delighted to be with James Nicholson from Harlex Properties and Rob Trevor from CBRE. And we're here today to talk about Solar 120, which is a net zero refurb piece of work that these guys have been involved in. We're all very proud of what they've done. So, without further ado, James, do you just want to give me a little bit more information about what the scheme's all about?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us here at UKREiiF. It's great to join you. So Solar 120 is, we believe it's the first net zero carbon BREEAM excellent EPC A+ refurbishment of a warehouse project in the UK. And Rob and I are delighted to be talking about it for all of those benefits that it's going to bring to the market. We've installed huge solar array on the roof, so we're now into sort of energy generation and net zero carbon energy in occupation. But ultimately, it's a 120,000 square foot warehouse that's 25 years old, and we've breathed new life in it. So rather than knocking it down and starting again, we've been able to breathe new life in it and create the excellent product for the market.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that, James. So Rob, how is ESG impacting your investment decisions?
It impacts every investment decision we make. So the new investment environment we're in means that investors are responding to our pension funds, our insurance companies, all of whom have an ESG agenda, but also with my role with our customers and our occupiers, they all have a net zero carbon agenda. So this building, we believe, will address many of those things. But unlike a new build, this one is a refurbishment, so it's significantly lower on carbon in terms of the development. So we think it's a grade A development, but it's a refurbishment, not a new build.
And is it that opportunity that really attracted you to this specific property?
I think it's partly that. It's a great location. We love Warrington. It's really well connected in the northwest. So it ticks our location criteria, which are really important for logistics, but it's also great for employment. It's great for a supportive local authority and investment environment. So it attracted us for all those reasons.
Okay, that's really good to hear. Thanks. And so how's solar impacting on your portfolio now?
It's so to give you an example, in our Netherlands portfolio, we have about 70% of the roofs are covered in solar, and I think the Netherlands leads Europe in terms of sustainability. But for our portfolio in the UK, it's substantially less than that. So there's a huge opportunity for us to be self-generating electricity from our buildings to create low carbon energy for our customers, and also to save them money. So we think it's a win-win for them and a win-win for us on the environment too.
Okay, that's great. And wellness is a relatively new term in logistics. So Can you give me some context of the wellness aspect to this?
Well, logistics buildings are full of people, and I think people are at the centre of wellness. So we have an agenda at CBRE Investment Management where we believe in delivering environments for people where they can thrive. And that might be an office, but it equally should be a warehouse or a logistics building. So in this facility, we've invested with a multi-use games area, sports pitch, which is being built at the moment. We've got a petanque court, we've got wild garden, we've got some outdoor space so that people working there have a breakout place to go to. So,
and is that a result of employee feedback that they believe these are the types of wellness products they want to see in the build?
Absolutely. So we recently we came close to buying a building in the Midlands which was occupied by a very large online retailer. They had invested in those facilities, and the staff, as you walk round, they love their gym, they love the sports pitch, and they're less inclined to move. So I think it keeps people engaged with the company and the building.
And so how do you think this will now pitch? Because this is quite unique in the UK as we understand it.
Yeah.
We think it's the first.
Yeah.
So how does this change the way you market the product now?
I think for us it's really trying to use occasions like this to engage with people, to say, look, whilst there is a big focus on the best buildings in offices and in logistics, new build, which grab the headlines for ESG, there's a real opportunity with the majority of our built environment where buildings we can reposition them. So we shouldn't just turn our backs on the old stock. We've got to refurbish it, we've got to change it, we've got to bring it up to date. and we can do that and this is a really good example of doing just that. So I think there's been a bit of a talk about a brown discount for investment, where buildings which are not ESG friendly are discounted in price, but we actually see that as an opportunity to reposition them into best in class. So
that's wonderful. James, can I just ask you? I understand this has been a challenging project. Could you give us a little bit of background and just allude to some of the barriers that you faced and how you've overcome them?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's not been there's no negatives to it. It's just every project's challenging, and especially refurbishment projects. So when you start with something that you're not entirely sure what's behind the layers and you peel them back, you start uncovering problems. And so what we found here was that actually the foundations in this building were not as we'd first thought, and therefore we've had to spend a lot of time engineering the building to then get them back to where we need to get the docks in. So it's all very good keeping all the carbon in the concrete and the steel, but it also poses problems when you come to start peeling back the layers. But they've been overcome, and they've all been worked through and engineered through, and the team have been excellent on that. So we've had it's been a challenge. It's been interesting. It's been fun on the way though as well.
So what does net zero mean in operations terms, and what does it mean for the occupier, importantly?
Okay, yeah, well, I mean, so a couple of things for the occupier. One, it's obviously a huge, it's a benefit for their environmental policies. So, what they're going to be getting is they're going to be getting green energy. The roof, on the roof, we've put an 85% solar array on there, which ultimately could generate enough electricity for an industrial and logistics operator. So, in that sense, if they could use all that on site, then they wouldn't need any external power. So they could be off grid. We factored about a 25-year lease for a tenant. If you use the electricity off the roof, they probably would save about £4.5 million in pure money. But also you've got the benefit of not buying carbon-generated electricity as well.
So they are huge figures. So how difficult was putting the solar PV on the roof? Was that difficult?
No, dead easy. The biggest issue has been the connection back into the grid. And so obviously it's with the utility companies just yet is getting that G99 form signed off and getting the ability then to connect back into the grid. So ultimately what we've got is we've got a generator there, haven't we? And we've got 700 kilowatts of electricity that we can sell back into the grid if it's not being used. That interactivity between the utility companies and the private sector is just not slick enough, I don't think. It's been about 16, 18 weeks while we've waited for a form to be signed to then get it moving. But it's signed now, we're on, it's generating, and long may it continue for this.
So it's quite literally a groundbreaking project, this, isn't it? So just thinking about Harlex properties then, how is ESG really starting to impact your business now?
Oh, it's massive. Ultimately, my business thrives on investment management from the likes of Rob at CBRE Investment Management and others, and that starts from the very top. So where the money comes from generally leads the way, but ultimately we've started from the bottom up and trying to find opportunities that can work for the likes of Rob and take them to Rob and say, look, your alignment is with an ESG and social value policy. This project seems to fit your metrics perfectly. It also makes some money. And actually it happens to be in the best location for industrial, it's Warrington. So, that's how it works for me. So I've got to try and find opportunities that are that don't invest in carbon, i.e. they don't go and sort of build new things. I've been looking for the refurbs to try and keep that sort of carbon neutral.
Well, it's great to hear you guys getting involved in this groundbreaking project. Certainly, a unique project for the UK. And thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the talk from Rob and from James. Thank you. I'll speak to you soon.